Hey guys, today we are in Levis Mound in Clark County. We're gonna be riding the trails today, and apparently they've been rated the #1 trails in the Midwest by the Mountain Biking Association or something. But my dad has rode here, still says that they're not as good as Marquette, but they're still good, so look forward to riding them. Alright guys, let's take a look at the trail map. So there is two specific parking lots, 1 and 2. Parking lot 1, which is the one that we went to, has camping, so you can camp there with a fee, which is cool because you can just leave your campsite and go right to the trails. But either parking lot works, they both lead to the trails. Most of the trails are by the parking lots, but not all of them. You can continue going up, and there's a whole other section on a different mound, and then you also can go a little more, and there's that small section right there. Alright, let's start with Swamp Cut and Lower Glen. I didn't film anything on the Lower Glen, but that's because there wasn't really anything interesting. But it is a beginner trail, so that's kind of expected. Now for anyone who has kids and can't take them on the more advanced trails, there's beginner level trails wrapping around almost the entire trail system. So you can take them out on a longer ride while still staying on all beginner level trails, or easy intermediate. Swamp Cut was actually like a swamp. There was water all over the place, and it was hard to avoid. And at this point, I was thinking to myself, why are these trails rated so high? I'm really not seeing why. I will say that Swamp Cut has a lot of cool wooden features. There were quite a few places that seemed like they needed repairs. If you saw that wooden plank there that was broken, but that wasn't the only spot. Here are a couple more wooden features on Swamp Cut. Now that I'm thinking about it, we might have actually been on Yellow Jacket at this point. Swamp Cut kind of just feeds into Yellow Jacket. It doesn't really have a trailhead per se, so I don't know where exactly we are here, but we're close to Yellow Jacket, if not on it. Did you say something? Alright, so what my dad said is he saw a black bear, and we actually have a photo of the footprint. But I did not see it, unfortunately, because I was messing around with my GoPro, and I'm not happy with myself for that. But this doesn't mean you shouldn't come here, because most bears are actually scared of you. As long as you don't corner a black bear and it doesn't have its kids, you should be fine. It's very rare to see one while riding anyway. Let's move on to TP Downhill and Goat Dance. Alright, I'm gonna say this now. When you get to Goat Dance, do not go right, go left, because you're gonna end up passing by a bunch of jumps but not being able to ride them. Me and my dad went right, which is not the right way. We ended up having to climb to only find the tabletops and not being able to hit them, so that was unfortunate. I just want to say that the jumps are not beginner level, so don't ride them if you don't feel comfortable with them. But there is ride around, so if you don't feel comfortable with the jump, you can always ride around it. So if you do end up going right for whatever reason, you will get some downhill, but it's just this path here and there's no features at all, so I don't recommend it. This is TP Downhill. It's rated a black diamond, but honestly I think it is intermediate. I think, well, you guys can have a look for yourselves, but it doesn't seem that hard. Alright guys, now things are getting a little bit more interesting. Let me show you guys Sidewinder. But before I show you guys Sidewinder, I want to warn you guys about this specific section of Buck Hill if you're going down towards Goat Dance. It is a little bit sandy and loose, so when you're going down, be careful not to go too fast. So at this point in time, I'm still thinking all these trails are really easy. I hadn't gone into anything that stood out to me. They just didn't seem to be in contention for the best trails in the Midwest. But I should have kept my mouth shut. As the name implies, the trail starts to wind on the side of the hill. Not to mention that there's quite a few technical rock sections. I know, I got off the bike. Feel free to make fun of me. You see, I'm one of those riders that has a problem with edges. When I ride trails like these, my mind hits a panic button. I'm like freaking out as if the world is ending. So, the first time we came around this trail, which is what I filmed, I got off the bike quite a bit. But in my opinion, it is better to ride a trail and try to get better at it than to just skip it and not ride it altogether. And you know, over a course of 3 days, I got better at this trail. I'll show you guys my time improvement later in the video. You gotta admit, the landscape on this trail is really pretty. These are some very unique trails. I've never really rode trails that have, this rock wall right next to you. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys every feature that I could not ride. Every time I passed that stump, I thought my pedal or my shoe would hit it, so I had to get off there. Then up here, you can't tell, but I kept on getting freaked out by this 15-foot drop because I kept on looking down. I was able to ride this bridge by day 3, but I thought it was cool, so I wanted to show you guys. There is a flat section once you get towards the top of the mound and at the top of the mound. Once you get past the middle flat part, you get to the section that has the steepest downhill to the left of it. This corner killed me. I wasn't able to do it day 3 either. It's a blind corner with a narrow wooden bridge, and it's uphill. After you get past this tree, everything gets easier, as you're at the top of the mound and there's not much in terms of technical stuff, and the side does not seem as steep anymore either. It is satisfying to be on top of the mound. And after a minute or two, you end up coming to the end of Sidewinder. Next up will be all 3 Hermosas. The beginning of Upper Hermosa is pretty fast, and it's got some cool features as well. By the way, it would be pretty lame to skip that feature. You should have plenty of speed when you hit it, but if you somehow don't have enough speed, you can probably pedal up it too, but I doubt you won't have enough speed. The downhill does end eventually, and you get back to the limestone rocks on your side. After finishing a short route technical section, you come across that rock that's sticking out of the side of the ground. I'd say that rock is probably the most unique part about Upper Hermosa. Although, this part of the trail is in contention as well. Later on, you come across a feature that goes back and forth in what I think is a creek bed. You're not going to be able to go as fast as you think you are because some of these turns are tight and have tree roots which make them technical. Near the end of the trail, you come up to a section that had some logging done to it. We are now on Hermosa. Hermosa has a couple of wooden wall rides. In all the trails I've been at, I've never done a wall ride, but to be fair, I haven't ever really seen one out on a trail. But anyway, my dad's telling me how to ride them here. So when we come up to the second one, I decide to give it a try. I did exactly what my dad told me not to do, and I used my rear brake. Obviously it didn't go very well for me, and I just slid right off. But at least I have something to work on now. And after a wooden ramp with a foot drop, you come up to the end of Hermosa, and you can choose between going on the lower Hermosa or taking a right onto Wolf Run. Me and my dad continued on the lower Hermosa, and I did not film any of Wolf Run. Now even though I didn't film it, we did ride Wolf Run, and it is pretty easy. There's only really one advanced feature on it, and it's skippable if you want to. On the very western part of the trail, there is a wall ride. It's pretty similar to the lower Hermosa actually. I didn't film much of the lower Hermosa either, I just filmed this end part. So I would say both these trails can be ridden by a beginner rider. Alright, now we are moving into all the southern trails. This trail is called Dead Turkey, and it's another beginner level trail. Again, because it was a beginner level trail, it really didn't have any features. The only feature was this cool wooden bridge that seemed to be made out of wood from signs that you would see at campgrounds or state parks. There was also this skinny plank ride about a foot wide that looks like it was put in after some flooding to the trail. Now we're back onto the Black Diamond trails. This trail is corkscrew, and we're climbing it. Most of these Black Diamond trails though are probably better to go down instead of up, but you're gonna have to climb some of them to get to the top, so. For this trail, the closer you are to the top, the more difficult it is. It started off really easy for me and my dad, but it quickly became technical and became pretty hard for us to ride. Here's another wall ride that I sort of rode. With all the rocks that you have to maneuver through while climbing, it's pretty apparent that this trail is probably best to go down instead of up. And after a little bit more of climbing, we finally got to the top. Alright, I'm going to skip Toad Road for now because I want to show that second to last. So we are currently at where the start of Switchback is. And my dad thinks this is the Switchback Trail. This doesn't look like a trail to me. And that's because it isn't. I have no idea why my dad thought this was the trail. It just goes to show that he's not very good at navigating. It took my dad about a minute for him to realize that this probably wasn't the trail. Note to my dad, leave the navigating to me, because I am way better at it. But also, thank you for taking me to all these awesome systems, Dad. So, please don't stop taking me to these places because I called you a bad navigator. Okay, bye. Alright, now it's time for the trail switchback. This trail is another bench cut trail. This trail does have a bit of an edge to it, so I was starting to freak out, but not as bad as Sidewinder. The nice thing about this trail is that we didn't have to climb the whole time. We did have to do some climbing, but we could go downhill part of the way as well. So if you want to ride up to Toad Road, but you don't want to have to climb the whole way there, this is a great way to get to Toad Road but still have some fun up on the way there. For us, the trail ended with a nice little downhill. Alright, so most of the footage left in the video was taken on day 2. We will be taking a look at the Black Diamond Trail Cliffhanger now. Just like Switchback, Cliffhanger is another trail that you might rather go down than up. And yes, I did ride this trail downhill, but that was on day 3 and I wasn't filming on day 3. So even though I'm going uphill, I can still show you guys the features of this trail. But if you guys want to know how to shred this trail going downhill, I suggest you check out Jeff Lenoski's video. He's a pro biker and he made an entire video just for this trail. So please check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, let's get back to the trail. As you've been seeing, this trail is mainly bench cut. And I'm still stopping, unfortunately. That wasn't even a very hard feature right there with that rock. This trail is also one of the most scenic trails at Levis Mound. Just like Sidewinder, it has that beautiful limestone right next to you. The best line for this little technical spot, which I'm currently walking, is actually over the tree root. The other side is tight and likely to lead to your handlebar hitting the tree. The next feature would be tricky for anyone to ride uphill. I would say the best line is to go to the left and then end up sliding down the rock to avoid the tree. And right near the top of the trail, there's this cool little bridge. Now whether you're going to or from Cliffhanger, I suggest you take the trail clearance. It's not hard, it's actually a really easy trail, but the reason I suggest it is because of the view. I took this picture on one of the overlooks on Clarence, and really if you're skipping Clarence, you're missing out, so definitely check it out. Alright, we are finally on Toad Road, and in my opinion, Toad Road has the most iconic feature at this trail system. If you're going down the trail, you start at the top of the mound, and although the views aren't as good as Clarence, there's still a nice view on Toad Road. And here is the most iconic feature of Levis Mound. It's called Plumber's Crack. The trail goes between two giant boulders, and it looks like, well, you know, a plumber's crack. All jokes aside though, it's a really unique feature and you won't find it anywhere else in Wisconsin. A minute or two after Plumber's Crack, you'll end up coming across some rocky technical sections. Looking back on video, most of these rocky sections don't look that bad. I don't know if the camera is affecting anything, but these rock sections don't seem as hard as some of the trails I've been on in Marquette. Alright, so here you can go left on Switchback or continue right on Toad Road. We continued on Toad Road. It's a pretty nice descent from here. Obviously there are some rocks, but other than that, it's pretty smooth. Alright, I have one more trail to show you guys. Alright, this is Lucy's Loop. It's basically the skill park here. It's right by parking lot 1, and it has a bunch of skinnies and a couple teeter-totters. On my first try at this trail, for some reason, at almost every single skinny, I got right near the end and then ended up losing my balance and falling off. My second attempt was way better though, but I don't have that on film. There are a couple broken features on this trail, so you have to be careful. Alright, this upcoming skinny you should either avoid or proceed with extreme caution. I almost fell here and my dad tweaked his derailleur hanger and had to fix it so he could shift again. The two teeter-totters on this trail were actually the first two I've ever rode, so that was a really cool experience. One more skinny, and this time I actually made it through. The trail ends with a small rock garden. Alright guys, that's it for the trails. Now I did say I was going to show you guys how much I improved over the 3 days here at Sidewinder. So here's the Strava post right here. Alright, this is day 1, and 14:55 is actually not my time. It's my dad's time. I forgot my Garmin, so I don't know my exact time. But I do know that it was slower than my dad. He had to stop and wait for me a lot. I would estimate my time to be between 15:30 and 16:30. So knowing that, here's how much time I shaved off in 3 days of riding these trails. I was able to shave off almost 5 minutes. I'm gonna guess that my average speed day 1 was 3 miles per hour. My average was 4.5 on day 3. So for the people like me who are slow or maybe can't ride everything at the system, it's better to try and challenge yourself at something than not do it. For me, the longer I rode the trails, the more confidence I got. So for any of those beginner mountain bikers, know that the more you ride stuff, the more confident and the better you will get. Alright, I just want to mention some of the places that you can stay. Like I said earlier, there's 2 parking lots and only one of them has camping. It's really convenient for people who do that because they can literally wake up, go out and ride trails and come back and be right there. Now if you're looking for something with like electric and water, there are a few close places nearby. Me and my family stayed at Russell Memorial Campground, which is right on the lake. There's also another resort, I believe, that is also on Lake Arbutus. Now for my rating of these trails. I definitely think these trails are worth stopping and staying for. You're probably going to need a couple days to ride all the trails you want to. Now at this point in time at the trip, the trail system at Levis Mound ranks third behind Marquette and Brown County for best mountain biking trail system in the Midwest, in my personal opinion. But that might have or might have not changed from the Canva trails in Hayward, but you guys have to wait for that video. I also know that there's a few other trail systems in the Midwest that are really good, but I just haven't rode yet. I know Copper Harbor is one of them, so don't make fun of my list yet. I have some riding to do. Alright, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the Canva trails in Hayward and Sealy.